regarding water, and I think it needs to be clarified that when this application was first made in 2007, I think it was, contained in the agreement was the fact that it would only go as far as sewage capacity would allow it. The late Councillor Lodwick did vote against that because we didn't have sewage capacity, but that was already in the agreement. So, which is why, of course, there aren't a couple of hundred extra homes in Sunderland built without sewage connection. So that has always been in there. So the people who are finding significant fault with this council for going ahead and improving stuff when there's no sewage capacity, that did not happen. The sewage capacity will come eventually. I don't know the timeline. As the mayor mentioned, there will be an environmental. There has been an environmental assessment budgeted by the region to determine what type of sewage system will work best, whether it be the type we have, which I not assuming that they will continue with, although it's been working, I guess you would call it obsolete, but working well. There are other systems, obviously, more modern, that I assume they will go to, but that's down the road. So that issue, sewage capacity, is not an issue. Let's go to water. The region of Durham issued a request to the people of Sunderland to conserve water this year. Personally, I think that's a no-brainer. We should always conserve water. Yes, we're down to one really good well in Sunderland, have been for quite a while. There is a extra pump sitting right there, if need be. There is the capacity in the standpipe, I'm told, for 2.5 days of use in Sunderland. There is also the obligation of the region that if the water in the town does go down, they will replenish it with water tankers from other municipalities into the pipe. So water is not an issue. And there is a new well scheduled to go online in November, John? In November. Already there. Just has to get everything lined up. So those are issues that I think needed to be clarified. There's one other thing that I regret reading, and that is there have been insinuations on the integrity of this council regarding greasing the wheels, greasing the palms, backroom deals, that sort of stuff. My suggestion is that if you have evidence of that, run, don't walk to your nearest police station, whether it be Durham Region, the OPP, the RCMP, I couldn't care less. Take that evidence and turn it in. Otherwise, shut up. But that has not happened. So, if you have the evidence, use it. In terms of the density, one thing I hear a lot about in Brock is affordability. Affordability is all relative, I get that. But a $400,000 house is a very expensive house, and I don't know what these are going to be. I've never yet met a developer who wanted to sell for a loss. I don't know anybody that wants to. But these will be smaller homes on smaller lots that will be more affordable in relationship to other houses. I guess I compare it to the townhouses at the south end of Lawrence Street. Not an issue. It allows, call them starter homes, call them what you want. Nobody's forcing anybody to move into them. Nobody here is being forced to move into those houses. If you don't want to, don't do it. But I look at it as a way for young families or older people like myself that can want to downsize to have a spot. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. First time around, my observations then. First of all, thank you very much. You're showing great patience. Appreciate that. Okay, I think I'd like to start with this bylaw deals with future planning. We've known since probably the early 1970s, if not earlier, that this land was set aside for residential development. So it's finally started to happen with Caitlin's Phase 1, 90 houses. And it's no accident it's 90 houses. It's 90 houses because that was the maximum sewage capacity. They weren't allowed to build anymore. So this is all future planning. There'll be in the bylaw, this is all technical stuff, but there's an H symbol placed on this. That's holding. That means nobody can build anything until certain conditions are met. The most common one we keep hearing about is sewer and water, specifically sewer capacity. So no house is going to get built tomorrow. Probably nowhere in the immediate future. This is going to be mid-long term, when the town can handle it, when Durham Region has the infrastructure in place. We should also know that this is very common in a lot of communities and urban centers in southern Ontario. The building community is complaining because the municipalities aren't keeping up with the infrastructure. So there is a delay, a lag in building, which may inadvertently has caused the housing prices to escalate the way they have in the last couple of years. Section 37. Looked hard and long at this. Bottom line is, you need willing partners. And Caitlin has indicated under no certain terms would they agree to a Section 37. We then will be in front of a board defending the passing of a Section 37 bylaw. We will be committing 6 digits of taxpayers' money to a position that we could fail. The reason it could fail is because as far as I can tell, no rural municipality has used Section 37. Section 37, then, we would have to prove we are above the density targets of our official plan. The township official plan, the density targets, we are there. We're within it. In fact, there's other proposals in the municipality in the future that you have even higher densities, but they do meet mostly the targets of the Brock official plan. Jay, you can ask a question at the end of the meeting, please. Please. So there is, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, and that's why I would like to proceed with this reading of the second and third, is because I do not want to risk Brock taxpayers' money on a position that we might lose. That's your opinion. This is my opinion. Now, The other issue that's come up, we can't deal with it because we're lame duck. Lame duck, it was described as a technical term. Well, okay. You should know, this council voted 6-1 last October to approve this amendment, long before any discussion of the term lame duck. So we are within our rights at this point to complete that approval process, and that's the passing of the bylaw. All merits of the application when it was first submitted have been met. All comments from all the agencies, including the school boards, have been received. The recommendation in the report last October was to approve. And it was approved by members of the committee, members of council, 6-1. So, what would happen if we didn't pass it tonight? We took so long to get to this point because we were hoping Caitlin would come to the table with the Lions Club and make a, here's a donation. So we held off on this bylaw. We knew with the writing on the wall, we saw what happened a little earlier in the meeting. Caitlin's proposal was not what we expected, it's not what the Lions expected, so we turned it down. If we do not pass this bylaw, we have gone so long over the due date that Caitlin could then, if we table this, come back and take us to the board for not doing our job. We approved it and didn't pass the bylaw. We don't have infrastructure, but we will someday, as Regional Councillor Smith has mentioned. Those are my... Jay, stop it. Councillor Campbell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sure everyone's noticed I'm not supporting this bylaw. I just feel like this council's letting everybody down in two ways. Over 100 people opposed adding 61 more houses to the Caitlin subdivision. That's not being listened to. Secondly, we're letting everybody down by not pursuing Section 37. I really wish that my fellow councillors would have a change of heart, table the bylaw, add in Section 37, and proceed accordingly. I think that would be of more benefit to all.
Any further comments on second reading by members of council? Seeing none, all those in favor of second reading? All those opposed? Carried. Third reading. Moved by Regional Councillor Smith, second by Councillor Lodwick, that a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 287-78-PL, as otherwise amended, of the Corporation of the Township of Brock, with respect to certain land located within part of lots 11 and 12, Concession 6 Sunderland, in the Township of Brock, Region of Durham, be read a third time, passed and numbered 2780-2018-PL, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Recorded vote, please.
Mayor Grant.
Yes.
Councillor Lodwick.
Yes.
Councillor Miller.
Yes.
Councillor Parliament.
Yes.
Councillor Schaefer.
Yes.
Regional Councillor Smith.
Yes.
Councillor Campbell.
No.
The motion's carried.
Next bylaw. First reading. Moved by Councillor Miller, seconded by Councillor Campbell, that a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 287-78-PL, as otherwise amended, of the Corporation of the Township of Brock with respect to certain land located within part of Lot 14, Concession 6, Thora, in the Township of Brock, Region of Durham, be received and read a first time. All those in favor? Carried by all. Second reading, moved by Councillor Schaefer, second by Councillor Parliament, that a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 287-78-PL as otherwise amended of the Corporation of the Township of Brock with respect to certain land located within part of Lot 14, Concession 6 Thora, in the Township of Brock, Region of Durham, be read a second time. All those in favor? Carried by all. Third reading, moved by Regional Councillor Smith, second by Councillor Lodwick, that a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 287-78-PL as otherwise amended of the Corporation of the Township of Brock with respect to certain land located within part of Lot 14, Concession 6 Thora, in the Township of Brock, Region of Durham, be read a third time, passed in number 2807-2018-PL, and that the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk, sealed with the seal of the Corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. All those in favor? Carried. Yep. Okay, next item on the agenda is general items and inquiries, and my report to council. I got a few items here, and just to give you a little bit of an update, I'll start off with Sunderland. You may be aware, Durham Region on River Street, or the regional road west of the town limits, where the speed changes coming into town from 80 to 50. Those tiger teeth drawings or paintings have been put onto the pavement in an attempt, as requested, to slow down traffic entering the village of Sunderland. This is in concert with extending the 50-kilometer zone on Highway 12 that we requested from the MTO, increased fine limits on River, Albert, and Lawrence Street. So this is all part of, basically responding to the people that were concerned about speeding. Obviously, also, with the new inspector for Durham North, who has, has indicated a willingness to increase traffic enforcement through all of Brock Township. I did receive late today, there will be no changes at this time by Durham Region to the light and stop intersection at River and Albert Street. They're just reminding everybody that the incident numbers are very low, that there have been noticed a few people hesitating, making the left turn onto River Street when they see the red light, but they, as long as the intersection is clear of pedestrians, they may proceed. So that's where we stand now. If, since we got a good group here from Sunderland, if you are aware of any incidents that may be of assistance to indicate that Durham Region should be doing something different, I'm sure we'd appreciate that. Earlier it was mentioned about the standby well that's being constructed in Sunderland. This is just in case the primary well should fail. Just to give you an update, the pump house and the equipment have been ordered, and this standby well will be commissioned, assuming there's no delays, in November. At the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority, Mayor Margaret Quirk from Georgina and myself, we passed a resolution through the Board of Directors with respect to specific individual corporate farms that, are, doing a direct discharge of sediment into, Lake Simcoe. We have one in particular in, Township, north of Beaverton, that has resisted any sediment controls, even when the solutions have been offered by the Conservation Authority. They don't want to deal with it. They would rather saturate the lands with water, and to the point that whenever it rains, the land can't absorb any of it, and because of their location, it's a direct sediment discharge into the lake. There's been at least 4 incidents in the last month. So, there will be a meeting with like-minded MPPs and MPs around the lake with regard to this issue. I want to make a clear distinction. 99.9% of the farming community are good, great stewards of the land. They get it. We talked about it earlier. Generational farming, 150 years. They're not the problem. This is a large corporate farm that is foreign-owned, and they don't care what they're doing. And we got to get a stop to it, and it's the province and the different ministries that are needed to get on board with this. AMO, Municipal Associations of Ontario, Municipal Associations of Ontario, we have a conference in Ottawa coming up. I'll be leaving there for Sunday. I've arranged meetings with the Honourable Minister Laurie Scott and other ministers, MPPs and MPs to discuss this issue about Lake Simcoe. I've been further asked by the new administrator of Soldiers Memorial Hospital to review the funding formula for small and medium, small, rural and urban center hospitals. They feel that using the data to justify your budgets, they're using the yardstick of what happens in Toronto should happen right across the province. And we all know that there are 6 houses within walking distance in Toronto, and most of the province, you can't walk to a hospital. So, I think we passed a resolution earlier, but the employment office will reopen August 20th at the Beaverton Town Hall. At the municipal conference in Ottawa, I will be attending sessions on affordable housing, rural broadband, road infrastructure, and changes in financing, and my favorite subject, marijuana. We still don't know. We think we know where we're going to be able to buy it, but we have no idea yet who can grow it and where they can grow it. And we certainly need to get on that one. Just an update for your calendars. August 27th is the new date to open the 18 units at Gillespie Gardens, including the tour of the facility. I understand that the existing residents will be part of the tour and some refreshments. And on September the 17th, the 50 units at the end of McKay Street in Cannington. With the McPhail family in attendance, we will celebrate sod turning, shall we say, of affordable senior housing in Cannington and for Brock Township. So it'll be great to see the McPhails there. There'll be a special announcement at that point in time. That's my report to council. If there's any questions from members of council. If not, Regional Councillor Ted Smith, your report to council.
Thank you, John.
You have a question? You want to hold for a moment?
Sure.
Okay.
Councillor
Miller.
Thank you for your report, Mayor Grant, and I just want to thank you for advising council members and keeping us apprised of what's happening at the Lake Simcoe Conservation Authority.
Welcome. Haven't been there long, but I'll report as often as I can. Regional Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mayor Grant. Through you, first of all, I'm glad you're attending the Association of Municipalities of Ontario this coming week. I'm a little disappointed that other council members are not attending. I was supposed to attend, I was registered to attend, but as most of you may know, I had surgery on my back at the end of June, and I wasn't, I wasn't sure when that surgery was going to be, and B, I wasn't sure how the results would be. So I withdrew my my attendance of it, and so I'm not able to attend. Having said that, the surgery results were terrific. As it turned out, I probably could have won. But I'm a very lucky person in that the health care in Ontario looked after my back extremely well, and the surgery was very successful. So thank you everyone for their inquiries. Just wanted to congratulate the Rock Big Bike Committee for their terrific event on Saturday. I know that I thought it was extremely well organized, really good food, really good entertainment, really good weather. Unfortunately, not a real good crowd. I know that did not meet their projections in terms of the expected crowd. Just wanted to mention I'm disappointed in the results of the request for a full set of lights at River Street and Albert Street in Sunderland. I thought that we made a very good case for that, and as the mayor said earlier, if you know of incidents, please report them, or at least report them to us, because I thought that we might be able to get a full set there, but unfortunately not yet. I just want to mention that at our last regional council meeting, there was a new treasurer and commissioner of finance appointed, that being Nancy Taylor, who comes to the region from the municipality of Clarington, and we look forward to working with her. And that completes my report. Thank you. I also attended the Kawartha Conservation Authority meeting, and the struggle we're having at the Kawartha Conservation meeting is maintaining quorum. Some of the councillors who sit on it are not running again, and we're having trouble with them attending the meetings, and last time we did have quorum, but the time before that we did not. So it's something that we are definitely addressing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of the regional councillor? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much. Other items? Moved by Regional Councillor Smith, second by Councillor Lodwick, that Resolution 37-8 be lifted from the table and filed for information. Any discussion? Nope. Okay. This is to deal with gravel for the island. Is that okay? Regional Councillor Smith.
Yes, thank you. Certainly gravel, getting over to the township has put funds towards I think this is third year in a row towards gravel for Thor Island, and there has not been a barge available in any of those years to deliver it. Those roads over there are unassumed, but council has made the commitment to help out with some gravel, and I know that the homeowners there appreciate it. I was recently at their annual meeting, and their big issue is finding a barge to deliver it, and I hope they have some luck. I think they had a few new leads on one, so I hope it works out for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried. And I did hear that since, there is a barge at, the First Nations, Chippewas of Georgina, which was not available, due to political reasons, now that the treaty has been ratified, the Williams Treaty has been re-ratified, there may be a possibility that they will start renting out the barge. So, maybe we got a lead there. Next. Moved by Regional Councillor Smith, second by Councillor Lodwick, that the Brock Township Council acknowledge the following. Ms. Margaret Gingras' 95th birthday, July 18th, 2018. All those in favor?
Carried.
So members in attendance, if you know of a special occasion that you would want acknowledged by the municipality, please submit it, and we'll do that. We're getting near the end. A round of others. I'd like to start with Councillor Campbell. Any others?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. I have questions for Mr. Gettenby and Mr. Colucci regarding something important, not just to Sunderland, but to everyone in Brock, because kids from all over the township play minor hockey and ringette and enjoy using Sunderland Arena. So going back to something positive, trying to get this project on the roll, Mr. Gettenby, I would like to know if the future council can amend the DC rules and regulations so that money can be used for arenas. And I'm going to ask Mr. Colucci for an update about the status of the engineering drawings, prerequisite to apply for federal provincial recreation infrastructure grants.
Mr. Gettenby.
Yes, as part of the preparation of the policy report, we can include the expansion of the Sunderland Arena, ice surface, dressing rooms, and so on, along with the other capital projects that we have identified within the capital forecast. So, yes, we can include that.
And included with that is the opportunity for the next council to not only look at arenas but other equipment. Perhaps the fire department would like more equipment. And that's possible so that the DCs pay for it rather than the taxpayers. The developers pay for it. The other question was an update on the drawings.
Architectural drawings.
Yeah.
Through
Thank
you,
you.
Mr. Chair. The architectural drawings, the 60% version, I've been told that they'll be ready within a couple of weeks, and then I'll arrange a meeting with the Lions after that to review those drawings, and then we'll proceed to 90%.
Anything further? Okay. Okay, go ahead.
I just should give kudos to the organizers of Brock's Big Bite. It was an amazing event. We had a spectacular time. It's too bad that it wasn't better attended, but it's a busy time of year.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Miller, any others?
I have two others.
Okay.
One is a motion.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Miller, seconded by Councillor Campbell. The council receive and file correspondence 1479/18. Councillor Miller, the communication refers to what? This is about?
This is about the update on status of reserves and reserve funds.
Go ahead.
I'm through you, Mayor Grant, if Laura Barda could give us a brief summary, already than the summary that you have for an update of status of reserves for council, but mostly for the benefit of those that are in attendance.
Okay, the reserves and reserve funds, as I guess was mentioned, we do have a substantial balance at the end of July. We're looking at just over 19 million. And I know I've heard, read some comments about our reserves being high. What this council has done, and prior councils as well, is try to plan for the future to reduce tax spikes. So when something, for example, the roof on a building has to be done, it's a major expenditure to the township. If we budget over a number of years to get these things done in accordance with our capital plan, and we start setting a little bit aside, it's like a savings account. You set it aside so when you have to do the work, there's money there. You're not going out and borrowing, and yes, the rates are low now, but they haven't always been. Part of our issue with some of these reserves at this point is the fact that we have substantial commitments that we have contracted to have work done, and some of it is taking somewhat longer than anticipated. We have one bridge budgeted from 2015 with a substantial cost, almost $1 million was budgeted, and due to delays with getting approvals with the Conservation Authority, having to redesign to meet certain standards, this amount for this bridge, almost $1 million, is sitting in reserve. I can't spend it on something else because when we finally get this done, this bridge is fixed, we need that money to pay for that. It was taken from your tax dollars in the past with a specific purpose. And that's just one example. There are many other things that we have budgeted for over the last few years, or specific reserves that are set up in anticipation of something that is going to happen. We have commitments for the election, as an example. We don't finance that in 1 year. We try to finance it over a 4-year period. So yes, it sits in reserve for the 4 years, and at the end of the 4th year, we take it out to pay for the election. It kind of balances the costs over that 4-year term. Capital, I think, is one of the main ones that we have a lot of commitments outstanding, but we also have in our restricted reserve funds a substantial amount of money. Right now, we've got $5.4 million in restricted reserves. Now, yes, it would be nice to take it and build a new arena, but we can't do that because the legislation says that you are required to collect, or you are permitted to collect DCs in accordance with your bylaw, but those DCs can only pay for development-related increases in capacity. So to say we're going to take the full amount of the DCs that are in the Recreation Reserve Fund and pay for the arena, we can't do that. We can only pay for the increase in the capacity of that arena. So if the arena is 10% larger because of the addition and the work that's being done, 10% can come out of DCs, not 100%. It's the way the legislation is written, and we have to follow that legislation. With the Parkland Reserve Fund, same thing. There's specific legislation that requires us to keep that money that's dedicated for parks. It can only be spent on parkland. The Gas Tax Reserve Fund, again, it's a federal restriction on that one. We are required to spend it specifically on types of projects that are approved by the federal gas tax legislation. So that we use mostly for roads because we have a lot of roads and they have to be maintained to a certain level. A new reserve fund that was set up this year, again, in accordance with our legislation,